Good afternoon. Okay, class, this first video is going to be a little one on APA. It's a very dense topic, so I'm not going to cover absolutely everything. But if you will look at your class policies, you have my contact information, you have my email, you have my alternate email, you have my phone number. I would not give you those things unless I wanted you to use them. If you need my help, you ask me. I'm online pretty much all week except for Sundays. Most of the time I'm not really on there a whole lot on Sundays. But we're going to kind of dive in with some paper rules to begin with. This is the first one, and I know it looks like it came from a high school teacher, and that's precisely where it came from. These are just general rules. You guys are at a college level now, so you need to avoid things like color and using pictures. You need to watch out for good grammar and good mechanics. Don't change the tense as you write. Avoid your opinions. This is not, neither of the assignments is an opinion paper. You are supposed to write on an academic, collegiate level, and your voice or the way you write needs to be in a scholarly type of manner. And I've posted some stuff in the Student Center for you to look at as far as a good example of writing. And you can finish going over this list, and what we're going to concentrate basically from this list is being able to cite your information from your resources into your text and also making your bibliography. So you can refer to this. Anything I show you on here is in the Student Center. So we're going to close out of this one. And now the big thing that I want you to know is that don't let the paper scare you. It's a paper. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to die. It's not difficult. It just takes a little bit of patience, a little bit of time. You have me for a resource, and you also have your local campus learning resource center, and you need to use those as well. To begin with, and you already saw our little cat here, I do not accept Wikipedia as a source. Look, I know everybody goes to Wikipedia, and that's all well and good, but you cannot cite Wikipedia. As you read through Wikipedia, you will see little tiny references, and they have links. Go to the very bottom and look at the actual resources they use. Then you have to go to that resource to actually get the information. Wikipedia is compiled by every person in the world that's free to log on there and do what they want and add information, and it may or may not be right. So you need to check the resources they provide. Read it for yourself to make sure that they interpreted the information correctly, and you use the actual source. You do not use Wikipedia. I will check if you used it, and I will also be running all the papers through Turnitin.com, which is our next little topic here. Plagiarism is when you use somebody else's work and you took credit for it. And that's a big fat no-no. That's basically stealing of intellectual property. So you can paraphrase it, you can put it in your own words and cite the source. If you want to use a direct quote, you can do so. You just need to make sure that it's cited properly, which means you have to quote it. You have to put quote marks at the beginning and the end, and you have to put the correct citation for that is going to be author, comma, year, comma, page number, if it's a direct quote. If it's just a paraphrase, you do not have to add a page number. And there's some more information on this, and I've included down here some helpful links on YouTube that are good for plagiarism, so that you understand it and what constitutes plagiarism, what doesn't constitute plagiarism. Now, when I turn something in to Turnitin.com, it's going to give me back a Originality Index. It's going to tell me this much of the paper, this percent of the paper is original and this other percent is not. So if I get an originality report back and it says it's 98%, that tells me you pretty much copy and pasted somebody else's paper, or you bought a paper, or you didn't cite your information right. And it could just be as simple as you didn't cite the information correctly. And so you need to be really, really, really mindful when you're doing these papers, what you're doing, how plagiarism works, and how to avoid it. Now here's some examples of plagiarism right here. Let's look credit, and what that means is without that little citation in your paper, not putting quotation marks in where they need to go, giving incorrect information about the source of the quotation. In other words, you have a book and no, even better, you have a journal article, and what you're doing is that journal article, that author has said something and cited that work, and instead of citing the person they cited, you cite the author. It's called, it's secondary referencing is what it's called. When you cite a resource, you need to make sure that the author of that work is the person that wrote that information, not citing their citation secondarily. That's not going to work. Another form is changing words but copying the sentence structure of a source without giving credit, and copying so many words or ideas from a source that it makes up the majority of your work, whether or not you give credit for it. So it can get real complicated, it can get real ticky. So I want you to use those sources, use some of the stuff that I've posted here like this, and then also there is a boatload of sources online that you can do, and it is really helpful, especially these right here. They give you examples. If you're not sure and you want me to look at it, just send it to me. I'll be more than happy to look at it. Now, the big page you're probably going to use the most is this one right here. This page gives you, I've pretty much given you a cheat sheet. I mean, really. Let's see, we've got the most common citation examples. These are not the be-all, end-all. These are not everything. So I gave you the link to the Purdue OWL, which is extremely helpful, and they have, this is where I got all the information from and out of my own head. So what you want to do here is you want to, I've put it in here, like you've got like an online periodical. That'd be like a journal article, like a peer-reviewed journal article. And sometimes they have this little number called a DOI, and sometimes they do not, so you need to make sure that you use the right format. Then there's articles from databases, like if you were to go to the World Health Organization, they have sections of publications in a database, and if you pull those out of there, you would use this source. If you use a newspaper article, which is entirely acceptable, you use this. If it's a chapter of a section or a web document or an online book chapter like your web text, you would use this. Now this is how they look in your reference list. This is not how they look when you're placing the citation in the paper. When you place citations in the paper, and note my little yellow stuff here, these notes, as far as, you know, list as much information as possible from a web source. Don't get lazy and say, well, I can't find the author, I don't know who's published. Go to the bottom, and usually it'll tell you, if that's the only date you can find, it was when the website was updated last, then use that. But generally speaking, if people publish something online or publish it in a database online, there's going to be a date, and there's also going to be an author most of the time. If you have a question about a citation, I mean a reference listing, then just let me know and I'll help you with it. In Text Citations, you need to use the author's last name, the year it was published, and the page number if it's a direct quote, like right here. You can see that now this was written in such that it was in the sentence, like according to Jones, and then just the date, because you've already listed the author right here. Put the date. Now see how this student had direct quoted, because you can see the quotation mark there and the quotation mark at the end here. Well, if I can get it there. And so then the only thing left is the page number. And then, now this is a big one. Everybody likes to put the period right there. That is not where the period goes. The period goes on the outside of the citation right there. Okay? And it just shows you different ways that you can cite it. A lot of people would be, might be more intended to do it as such. Okay. The author reported that has often had difficulty using a PA style. Can I spell today? Yes, I can. Especially when it was their first time. Oops, see, I forgot. You got to remember to put that end quote in there. So some folks are going to do it like that, where it's at the very end, the author, the year, and the page number. You do not put the first initial, like if it was Alan Jones, you do not do A. Jones, or Jones, comma, A period, comma. You don't do that. It's the last name, comma, date, comma, P dot, page number, close parentheses, and then the period. If it's not a direct quotation, then you would, and you've just paraphrased this in your own words, then it would look like, let's say that this is not a direct quote. Let's say that I just paraphrased that. It would look like that now. This is a paraphrase. This is how it would look on a paraphrase, and how I had it before with the quotation marks and the page number would be if it was a direct quote. So I'm going to take that out of there so I don't confuse anybody later. Okay. For long quotations that are a direct quote over 40 words, it needs to be indented, blocked off in the middle. You do not have to put the quotation marks on it because it's indicative that it's a direct quote since you've indented the paragraph. And you still have to make sure that the author's name and the year is in there, obviously, and you just put the page number at the end like this. And I do not know why that period's there because it should not be. Let's put it where it goes. All right. Now, when you summary or paraphrase, you're basically looking at somebody else's stuff and you're putting it in your own words. Like this down here is the paraphrase of that direct quote. Students often had difficulty using APA style, especially if it was their first time. He took that direct quote, the student took that direct quote and rephrased it here. Okay? And so I'm telling you, APA is one of those things that will make you want to pull your hair out. Some of us have spent years doing this. Years. I was in school part-time, working full-time, had kids, had a husband for 17 years. It took me 17 years. So I have lived and breathed APA and citations and everything forever. So again, I'm a resource. You need to use me if you need my help. I do not mind helping, not one little bit, so you just let me know. So, and like I said, anything I show you here is in the Student Center. Now, when we look at, that is not what I wanted. Alrighty then. So, now let's go, and we are going to go to our Blackboard so I can make sure that I have placed the plagiarism checker in the right spot, because if I haven't, I'll do it right now. Now, you guys, some folks I have heard are in a 300 class when they haven't even taken the 100 class yet, which is a little bizarre to me, and it can be a little overwhelming, especially in the area where we're writing papers. Now, this first one, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's due week 5, or is it week 4? I do not remember. Let's have a look-see. No, I think week 5 is your exam. I think you have a midterm week 5. Oh, looky there. Midterm, we are ahead of ourselves. Let's see, discussion. Nope, had to be week 4. Let's look at week 4. All right, if we go, hey, looky, there it is. Week 4, assignment 1. All right, this is your assignment. Now, I have not, apparently, placed anything for you to turn in your own paper to turnitin.com, but I will do that. And this gives you instructions on how to submit it. Look, they even give you ways to the format on how to format your assignments. I mean your references and stuff here. It also, do not neglect reading this. Do not. Double space, Times New Roman, 12-inch font, 1-inch margins. These are your guidelines, and I want you to use them. Now your rubric, this is what you get rated on. These are the points that need to be covered in your paper. Now, as you will see, APA is like 6%, but if you don't reference your information and if you don't have in-quoted, the citations inside the paper, that is going to mess up your integration of sources. If you don't cite it, I can't tell how well you integrated your sources. So really APA, because these two, because number 6 and number 7 are so tightly bound together, it really, it's really more like 12% of your grade. And so you need to be mindful of that as well. Now, I will go in, I won't do it right now during the video, but I will go back in and add a place on week 4 where you can turn in your paper early, just for, not turn it in early, but I mean like put it into plagiarism.com, so that, but turnitin.com, so you can check to see what your originality index is. Now, when it comes to that, some teachers are, well, it can have up to 20% similarity. No. If I see more than 12%, I'm going to knock off some points. This is a good way for you guys to really kind of get on the ball and start to learn how to do it. And I have said this to every class I have ever had. If you want me to look at your paper before you turn it in for a grade, then you need to get it, okay, it's Tuesday, right? So it's week 3, it's Tuesday. If you will get that to me by Sunday night, Monday at the absolute latest, I'll be able to look at it, give you some feedback, and then you can turn it in. Not everybody takes advantage of that. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's just completely up to you. Now, on week 4, now when you go, and this is a big question about turning stuff into, I know we've gotten a little bit off APA, just hang in there. When you go to turn in your assignment, you click on this link here, and then submit here. You click here. And you can view your rubric, and you browse your computer, you upload it, you can leave me a comment if you want, and then you submit it. And now put it in the Blackboard and I'll see it. Week 3, this is week 3, so next Monday starts week 4. You have all of week 4 to turn it in. So you've got plenty of time. And like I said, if you want me to look it over, that's fine. Just get it to me as early as you can prior to it being due. Now, as far as, we've pretty much covered APA in as much as some of this is just going to take practice. And so what you want to do is, and let me show you another thing in Word, and this is where your LRC comes in real handy. You can go see the person up at the LRC for you. There's this little tab here called Reference. Okay, all right. It will manage your sources, and it will make you a bibliography. It will put the citation in your text. So you want to go here and go to APA, and there it is, 6th edition. Okay. And if I want to manage sources, I don't use this as much. I normally do it like from up my head. So give me a second here. This is also, again, why your LRC person is important. Insert, nope. Do not use EndNote. Endnotes or footnotes, do not do that. You're going to be in this box here. It will insert your bibliography at the end. It will do this. This will put at the end of the paper. And if you try to do it with no sources, it's going to tell you you can't do it. So now if I want to, I'm going to add a new source. All right. Let's say it's a book. Well, no, let's use a journal article. Let's say it's a journal article. That's a peer-reviewed journal article. Let's say it's your dear old professor. All right. Oh. I'm going to put it in normal. There's the title. Journal of Academic Writing, 2002, 46 pages. Now I'm going to show all my bibliography fields, because in a journal article, you make sure you click that box, because in a lot of journal articles, it might have what city it was in. You want to fill out as much information as you have on that journal article. Sorry. If you're not familiar with journal articles, y'all let me know and I can do a quick video on that too and get that up next week. In the meantime, look at Google. Go to Google and put in what is an academic journal, and you'll get lots of good links to tell you what that is. And let's say my editor is Ronald. Oops, Hester, my husband. Let's say it's volume 2, issue 1. I'm just making this up, obviously. And there's the year access would be 2014. The month access would be what is it? Is it still January? So Jan. I have never been a good speller. Let's say March. Huh? Okay. The day I accessed it was Tuesday. And let's just, it doesn't have a URL. It's an actual journal article that I got offline. So I found the journal article, I printed it out. Now, that's going to give me that. And this is my list. So here's the correct citation down here. Okay? This is how you would cite it in the paper. That is the bibliography entry. And that's how it will. So if now if I'm writing according to the research, APA can be overwhelming, but it's nothing to fear. Now, let's say that, that was the gist of what you got from reading my journal article. Then you would place your cursor at the end, insert citation, it would put the citation in. And then if I wanted to create the bibliography, I do like that. And that, you would cut and paste that and put it on your last page. Or what you can do is get all of your stuff together, finish writing your whole paper, and then insert your bibliography at the end. So I know, oops, see, look, forgot my period at the end, there you go. Now, what you've got to do when you use this, and this is a good reference tool, this is a good way to insert, so but you put all your sources in first, and that may come in handy because on this first paper, you might use, this person as a reference, and that person may have somewhere in that article that you're reading for the first paper, it might be something you can use for the second paper. And Word will store all that for you. So use your reference tab in Word, or if you want to and do old school, like some of us old folks do, and you want to do it by hand and look it up so that you know that it's right, you can do that as well. And I'm going to save any changes to that. So this other paper that right here that is a big deal. This should be in the Student Center. If it's not, I will put it in there this afternoon. One of the things that people do a lot, and I do not see it, I will put it in there, is You have to cite your work in your paper. You have to. I don't know how much more clear I can make that. The other these are just common issues I find in a lot of papers all the time. Incorrect wording or slang. Like I told you, this is a college paper. It needs to have a scholarly voice, and so, you know, this may not seem slang to you. Oops, look, I can't even spell. But for all intents and purposes, for a college paper, this would be considered slang. This has been a hotly contested issue for the last 20 years. Hotly contested issue is a slang term. It's colloquialism. It's writing like you talk, which you don't want to do. So you want to make it sound more scholarly, more academic, so you would reword that sentence to, this issue has been at the center of debate for many years. You can see the difference in the tone of how it's written. The third thing that's an issue is don't ask a question in your paper. Reword any questions that you might have as statements. Your reader's there to get information, not to be asked questions. Number 4 is you have got to look over that rubric and make sure that you're hitting every point that you need to hit. Again, I'm more than happy to help, especially with the APA. And then I give examples here of how not to use second person or first person. This stuff goes to APA and format down here. You know, you need to have 2 spaces in between each sentence, and you can format Word to do that for you. You have to have your headers. You have to have your page numbers. It has to be the right size font. It has to be the right font, Times New Roman. Make sure that you are addressing the issue at hand, that you don't rabbit trail, and that you use your APA citations. Again, APA can be very, very testy. It can be very frustrating. Do not overload yourself. Just take it a little bit at a time. Look at the references again that are here in the Student Center. I've given you a couple documents on plagiarism. I'm going to go back to week 4 and add where you can put your paper through the plagiarism checker, the turnitin.com. And don't worry about it. Like, if you run it to get the percentage and then I run it later, it's going to look like 98%. But I'll know that you already ran it through there because it'll tell me that the student ran it through. So there's no reason to get upset about that either. You've got some time. I don't know why that keeps popping up. But just go ahead, give it a shot. If you've got questions about APA, give me a holler, let me know, email, phone. On Sunday, I'm unlikely to answer the phone, and I'm unlikely to answer a whole lot of emails. So if you can't, I do it in the morning before I go out for the day and come back. But if you need me and it's an emergency on a Sunday, you can absolutely leave me a voice message, and if it's a student, I'll call you back. So for right now, we are going to shut this down, and we're going to call it a day for the APA video, and I'm going to post another one on your web text in case there's any questions. So when we join back on this second video, we will be looking at the web text, and I'm going to show you some features in case you don't know, and we will attack that and look at the web text questions and some different features and stuff in the book that you might find helpful. Alrighty, I will talk to you guys in a little bit.